Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the used car market because we have some more info to go over that shows the trajectory of what the used car market is going to do. Before we begin this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. So Cox Automotive just released this report on their estimates for how many used cars were sold in March and then about how many used cars will be sold over the course of the 2023 sales year. So in March, there was about 3.3 million units sold, which is down by about 4% compared to 2022. And so if you guys don't remember, 2022 was not quite at the peak of the market in terms of pricing, but that's when pricing was really high with used cars, and availability was definitely not that good with used cars back then. It's definitely tighter now than it was back then, but it still wasn't great. And so the fact that we're trending downwards with volume, it's definitely not a good sign. Now, the estimate for the amount of used cars total that'll be sold in the market for 2023 is 35.5 million units. That is down from last year, which had a yearly estimate of 37 million units, but it's up from February, which was estimated, or the year over year change was estimated to be 33.9 million units. So we are slightly increasing so far in terms of the estimates of how many used cars will be sold this year. In terms of like month over month, but year over year, things are definitely down. And then something else to note is that not only are car sales down across the used car market, but when it comes to retail used car sales, those are also down. So these are cars that are sold at dealerships. March was estimated to see about 1.8 million sales, which is down by 3.5% compared to March of 2022. And when they dig into the data year over year, it looks like sales have decreased by about 9%, at least the data they have in this report. And so again, that just shows a weakening of retail sales within the used car world. And so that means that the estimate of used cars that'll be sold on the retail side of things is 18.8 million units, which is slightly up from last month, which had a year over year change estimate of 17.9 million units. But regardless, this is still a lot smaller than what the used car market usually does, because in a normal year, you'll usually see like in total, there will be about 40 million used car transactions happening in the US in a given year. And then when it comes to the retail side of things, it's usually about half, like 20 million. And so we're quite a bit below what the market should usually be seeing. So let's first discuss why this is happening, and then let's discuss what this means for the used car market moving forward. So first off, the reason why this is happening is, well, several reasons. So first off, right, we have higher interest rates right now, and used car interest rates are especially high. So the average interest rate on a new car is right around the 7% range right now, whereas the average interest rate on a used car is well over 10%. And so these higher interest rates definitely dampen affordability. On top of that, we have had a recent increase in wholesale values with used cars over the last few months, and the retail values are finally starting to adjust to these higher wholesale values, which means that used cars are again becoming more expensive. And so if you have a higher interest rate and a higher average price with used cars, that's going to lead to less affordability for the average consumer that wants to purchase a used car. And what you have to remember is these prices that we currently see with used cars, like these are super elevated compared to what we see historically. Again, we barely like came off of the peak, and now we're like rising back up. We're not quite up to the peak again, but things are pretty expensive. And then on top of that, used car inventory is really thin right now. The day supply number of used cars is really small. And the thing to note is the day supply number keeps shrinking at the same time that used car sales keep going down, which means that there's this positive feedback loop happening right now where there's less and less inventory available. So then there's fewer sales happening, and it's like compounding on itself. And so what this basically shows is that there's just a complete lack of availability of used cars right now. What a lot of people are encountering when they go and try to find a used car is they find that there's just not enough options. Like they'll go and look at a particular car and like that's it. Like there's not a lot of options to compare it to. And so that's also going to push people out of the used car market because, with used cars, right, There's no two used cars that are alike. And so if your only option is a used car that has a certain amount of miles that you deem too high, or it's just not in the right condition, or maybe it's in too good of condition, right? This sometimes happens where a car is just too new, so it's too expensive. There's a lot of factors that would push people out. And so, having greater availability, more inventory of used cars helps to, get out of that, but that's just definitely not what we are experiencing right now. And so again, you kind of have this compound effect of these higher interest rates with lower used car inventory and used car prices that increase at the first half of the year, which is definitely damping used car sales. And so if we put this all together, what this means moving forward, and again, this is supported by the data and then what I am seeing anecdotally out in the world, is that used car sales are going to continue to decline as the year progresses. And when I say decline, you might see month over month increases in used car volume because that's just what happens. Like for example, there's almost always more cars sold in February compared to January. But when we look at the year over year numbers, what we're most likely going to see is, again, March year over year, that was a decline. And, we're in April right now. I'm sure that once the April data is available, what we'll see is that year over year, there will be a decline. Like there are more used cars sold in April of 2022 compared to 2023. And I think that trend is going to continue for the rest of the year. And I think, frankly, it's going to escalate because, again, there are no signs of these used car values, declining by a massive amount. Again, the wholesale values started to creep down a little bit at the end of March, but not by a huge margin. And then on top of that, interest rates, those don't look like they're going down anytime soon. And then when it comes to inventory levels, it looks like the inventory levels are only getting worse because there's just not enough people purchasing new cars and trading in cars to allow these inventories to, beef up a little bit. And so with all of that compounding, it looks like this is just going to be a positive feedback loop to the end of the year where there's going to be fewer used cars available. The prices are still they're probably going to creep down, but they're still going to be elevated compared to historic levels, and the interest rates are still going to be high. And so there's going to be a lot of reasons for people to not purchase a used car. And again, when you put this in conjunction with the fact that new car interest rates are lower, new car availability is improving, new car discounts are also improving. It's like the new cars are starting to look way more appealing as time goes on. Let me know what you guys think about this situation. Let me know what your game plan is moving forward. If you were considering purchasing a used car, are you just going to wait it out? Or are you going to jump on the new car bandwagon now that availability is improving at the same time that prices are decreasing? I'll see you.